Hey, what's up guys? This is Meathead Mikkel from meatheadgaming.com, and today we're going to continue our attempt at 1.5 billion XP per hour solo doing COTA runs. So I did make a couple gear changes that I'm going to talk about here in a minute. I'm not going to explain my build or the rest of my gear or the run or anything like that. Go ahead and check out part 1 of the video. I'm going to link that in the video description below so you guys can watch that. But let's go ahead and I'll show you what the different gear is that I got. So first of all, fully buffed, my damage is now 348k, and in the last video it was 325, so I gained about 22k DPS, which is fairly significant, and my toughness was at 967,000 and I'm now at 1216, so I got somewhere almost like 30% extra toughness. And I'll show you guys what I changed. The first thing I did was I got rid of the ruby gem in my helm, and I also don't have a hellfire anymore. This is what I was using before, and which drops my bonus XP, but not by much. I was at 2560, if you guys remember before, and now I'm at 2460, so I lose 100% XP bonus, but at Torment 6, it's actually a very small drop because I'm still, it's still a lot of bonus XP that I'm getting. It's actually only about 5% XP drop, so it's worth losing that XP bonus, only 5%, if you gain, what is it that I gain, like almost 10% damage and almost 30% toughness. I think that's a fair trade-off. So the things I changed, obviously I got the life gem here now, and I changed my orb. This is the one that I was wearing before, and this is the one I have now. Don't pay attention to the socket, but briefly, between the toughness and damage, I got somewhere around 8% if you don't count the gem, trading up to it, and I bought this off the auction house for 25 million winning bid. I did drop 2% crit chance on Arcane Orb, which kind of sucks, but the extra toughness that I got, the 105 vitality, was actually huge. So I was okay with that. The other thing that I got was this ring. So this is the other baby. It was a 20 million bid, and these are pretty much the last two purchases I'm doing between now and ROS. I'm not going to buy anything else, but this is worth it. And the reason for that, it's not just the 3% damage difference and the toughness difference, but what's more important is that I'm re-gearing from attack speed, which is why, the damage isn't too crazy of a difference here, because the Hellfire Ring has an extra 100 in attack speed, and I'm instead going for crit chance and crit damage. And that's the really important thing to note. Also, the monster kill XP on the ring, which will make up for some of the XP that I'm losing. Now, I don't know how this stacks with the bonus XP or how much of a difference it makes. I have to test that out, but I'm assuming it would probably actually make up for the 100% loss that I'm taking here, so that's nice. But anyway, with regards to crit chance and crit damage, as related to attack speed, the attack speed is actually bad for this build, because if you have really high attack speed, you end up spamming a bunch of orbs, but each orb hits for less, and they don't crit as much, so you're draining more arcane power, and you're not getting, your AP on crit isn't proccing as much, so it's actually pretty bad. On the flip side, if you can kind of have the same damage, but with crit chance and crit damage, then you end up spamming less orbs, but they hit a lot harder, they do the same or more damage, and so you're draining less AP because you're not spamming as many of them, and you're getting more AP back because they're critting more. So even though I took a 2% loss here on the crit chance, I do have 5% total, so it's a net gain of 3% crit, which is pretty good. This is what I was really excited about, guys. And so here's what we're going to do. We are going to go ahead and do about a 20-minute run, and I'm at 181 mil right now out of 600, and we'll say 647, and I do have a pooled reflection stack. And let's go ahead and start my timer, jump right in, and we'll see where we end up. And I think, you know, from the testing that I've done, I think this is going to top out at about 1.5 billion XP per hour. You know, I've done a lot more testing over the last day or so. As you can see, my Paragon levels are a lot higher. So, and I think 1.5 with this build and this level of gear is going to be kind of the upper limit. Also, one thing you guys need to note, and hopefully I'm not like a noob for saying this, but it's a discovery that I made just recently because I haven't used teleport in a long time. But teleport does not get you out of Waller or the wormhole portal. So you know how they have that new affix that you basically stand in it after a while, like it deals a little bit of damage, and then after a while it teleports you to a different location. Well, you can't teleport out of that, and you can't teleport through Waller either. And I don't know if that's a bug or a feature. I don't know if that's intended. If it's a feature, that's not good. You know, barbs, for example, they can leap over walls, so I don't understand why you can jump over a wall, but you can't teleport through it. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, especially considering that you can teleport up and down ledges, but you can't do it with walls. So that's a very, very interesting mechanic. I don't know if it's designed to be like that, but if you guys are doing this kind of run, then that's something to be aware of. You know, you have to plan for it, because if you get walled, you're not going to be able to teleport out of it. If you get jailed, you can still teleport out, but that's about the extent of it. So just something to be aware of. And you know, the difference between with this gear, the difference between these runs and previous runs isn't very significant. I mean, it's, you know, in terms of play style. I mean, I can tank a little bit more, I can hang around a little bit longer, but you know, that's about it. That's really the only change. So I can just take a little bit more damage, and that's it. But it does make a difference because I'm spending more time actually killing mobs in the game than, you know, exiting the game and creating a new one, because all of that takes time. And if you spend very little time in the run and a bunch of time getting in and out of the game, then your XP per hour suffers significantly. This whole COTA, you know, thing is predicated on you maximizing your time in there, killing as much as you can, and then quickly exiting and re-entering and starting over, because these runs are so short. So, you know, again, guys, I'm going to do about 20 minutes of this. If you don't want to stick around for it, go ahead and, you know, fast forward. You'll miss some commentary. You know, not going to be the end of the world. I'm not going to put you guys through an hour of it, like I said I might in the last video, but you know, I did some more testing, and you probably do run into most situations that you're going to anyway within a 20-minute time frame. So it'll give you a good enough idea. And besides, there are other things that I want to test. So if you saw how I teleported up on that ledge, that's, you kind of want to get to that corner and then port up. It's a good escape method, especially if you train whatever leads you have down there. They won't follow you out. So then you won't have to, you know, resort to popping out of the crypt and then possibly facing another lead out there, or facing those bats that keep spawning so you can't actually port out, which completely kills your efficiency. That did happen to me in the last video. And, you know, you guys kind of saw that I was getting a little frustrated because, you know, it kills your runtime. You spend an extra 30 seconds for basically nothing. And again, these aren't optimal runs. I'm not trying to kill everything. I'm just kind of saying, you know, how long I can stick around and what's worth it. When there's an elite up there, doesn't mean I'm not going to go up there, but I try not to go up there at first, because I want to clear down here first. And the other thing, you know, if you're going to be doing this, you kind of have to figure out is you have to plan out a route that you're going to take. Like, this is kind of Alright, so this, and there's really nothing here. I don't really want to stick around for that. Frozen and Frozen Pulse are bad. Uh, Actually, probably the worst affix when I think about it. You know, there's a lot of bad affixes. Obviously, Teleport and Waller. You can't do anything about those. You can't port out of them, and with the teleport, you actually have to walk out of it in order to be able to teleport. Which is kind of an interesting mechanic. But probably, you know, if you really think about it, probably the worst affix is Vortex. Because when it's combined with anything else, like Poison Enchanted or Thunderstorm, or Poison Enchanted and Thunderstorm, you can get insta-killed. Like the moment that you get Vortex, you just won't even have time to teleport out. So when I see Vortex, I usually just exit the game. I usually don't even mess with it. It's not really worth it. So this right here, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And then my computer freezing is not cool either. So this run right here is actually pretty bad. And fortunately there's nothing out here where I popped out here. So that run right there is going to actually kill the XP per hour a little bit. But, you know, I got to give you guys an accurate number. And runs like this will happen. But I didn't want to stick around and possibly die and lose the Pools of Reflection bonus. You know, especially since I don't have Unstable Anomaly. And also because, you know, my computer is still a little bit on the older side, which is getting replaced this month. But until then, I have to play a little more carefully. So there's no lead up there. I'm not going to go up there. I'm not going to touch it. That's going to be the last place I go after I clear down here. Kind of want to clear this area in peace. So if you're going to be teleporting, I'm just going to briefly show you guys. You want to kind of get to here and teleport there. And another thing that you want to do is try not to get stuck on these stairs, because if you trail elites, whatever else, you will get stuck on the stairs, and it could turn out really, really bad for you. Alright, so that's the end of the run right now. And you know, you saw my computer freeze up right there, and that wasn't very good. So let's go ahead and do the next run. Of course, my phone's getting blown up while I try to record a video. That's always a good thing. It's a little early on a Saturday morning for that, don't you think? So hopefully my computer doesn't act up too much while I'm doing this. We're at about the 9-minute mark here in a few seconds. And this will give you guys a pretty good idea of the XP per hour. There are some other zones that I want to test. You know, I want to do cathedral runs a little bit more with kind of my new and improved stats and see what the XP per hour there is. I think it'll actually be comparable when you factor in, because those are 10-minute runs, when you factor in the entering and exiting that you're doing. Alright, got my next pool stack. 112 mil bonus pools, that's nice. And there's also some areas in Act 2 that I want to try. So you guys see kind of like my computer lockup right there. That's really bad, really, really bad. It's one of the reasons that I actually got more toughness and whatnot, because, you know, I didn't want that happening in the middle of an elite pack. And, you know, just so you guys know ahead of time, you know, dying because of like a hardware glitch like this, I don't really consider that normal. So if for some reason I do get popped prior to the 20 minutes being up, then I'm going to go ahead and stop the run, and we'll just do the math. write that in there because that's not, it's not bad play style or anything. That's just my computer being garbage and replaced in a couple weeks or so. But you absolutely 100% need to have pools of reflection to try and hit this 1.5 million XP per hour mark. And otherwise, you're going to drop about 200 to 300 mil. So, not something I want to do. Alright, so if you get an elite in that corner, and they actually start trailing you, what I like to do is I like to actually come up here, and depending on the affixes, I probably won't teleport. I'll probably just kind of, play ring around the rosy. With these guys, I'm just kind of leading the circle. It also depends on affixes, but this way I can, pretty safely just walk down here, and then clear, well, I would say clear this area, but there's nothing down here. So we're going to clear whatever's up here, and then get out. It's also why I like the Templar, because he won't charge, and, buy me a little bit of time to portal out. And of course, the AP regeneration from the Templar is pretty good. So we're now hitting the, what am I doing? We're now hitting the 12-minute mark. So I got about 8 minutes to go. And, because these runs are so short, and this is why I want to do extended testing in other areas, everything factors into account, not just how much you kill per run, but, for example, how fast is your computer? How fast can you enter and leave the game? Because if you're spending an extra, I don't know, let's say 10 seconds per run, just based on hardware, and you're doing, 60 of these runs in an hour or more, that's what, like 5 minutes or so? I don't know if I did that math right, but I think it's about 5 minutes or so over the course of an hour, 60 seconds. Anyway, whatever. It's a decent amount of time that you could spend doing, additional runs and getting more XP, which will give you, could give you an extra 50 to 100 mil total over the course of that hour, which would bump up your XP per hour number. So in runs like these, your optimization, your run optimization really, really comes into play, and it becomes a very significant factor. So you got to make sure that if you want to actually get the XP per hour numbers that I'm doing, you're going to have to play in a focused way. Not to say that you can't play this relaxed. A lot of times I do, especially when I'm not recording. But you won't be getting the same XP per hour, which, that's obvious. And what I'm trying to do at this point, because my gear isn't really going to change, I mean, any kind of damage and toughness boost that I'm going to get at this point, they're going to come straight from Paragon points. I'm done buying things. I'm going to have to just optimize the runs. And by the way, here's another pool of reflection. I'm telling you guys, watch the pool of reflection stacking video I have, and where I basically just do these runs, but on Torment 1, and I don't bother killing stuff, I just kind of pop in and out, check for pools. If you're going to be doing runs in other areas of the game, it makes sense to spend 10 to 15 minutes stacking a few pools of reflection, and just so you have that XP buff. Now the one thing I don't like about this is if you don't hit... well, this is alright. Because I'm telling you guys, this 25% boost it's huge. So we're at the 15-minute mark now. And I think I did a pretty good on XP. And once again, I'm pushing for 1.5. The last video, I ended up at 1.2. Then when I swapped one of my pieces of gear, not the ring, but the gem in the helm and the Talraj's orb, I got up to, I think, 1.3 or so, or like 1.35 doing XP per hour. And when I did this, when I tested this a little bit earlier, without recording it, with the same setup, I was just above 1.4. So, come on, computer. So I think 1.5, you know, with good gameplay, is very respectable. Look at that! Look at that! Another pull deflection. This thing is just stacks nonstop. All right, so I'm gonna pop up here in a second and see what's going on. See if there's any more white mobs up here before I exit the game. Yeah, that's about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Look at that, bonus pools, 148 million already. So I'm going to be writing out those pools quite a bit. Actually, I have enough for the entire next level and then some. So if you're not going to be doing COTA runs, which, you know, I wouldn't recommend doing this all day. I don't do this all day because it gets monotonous. It's pretty boring after a while, after you do hundreds of them. And that's why I want to test other routes that may be just as effective for this kind of build. Because this isn't like a gimmicky build. This isn't a, you know, Barb, Rend, Lacerate build with Will as a Berserker, or, you know, an Archon build, both of which rely on a long cooldown for pretty powerful ability to put out mobs fast. This is just a normal build. This build will work, you know, in any part of the game for as long as you want. Like there's nothing short term about this. So it's actually, you know, this build isn't actually optimized for Crypt of the Ancients per se. This is just optimized for the game in general. And whoa, okay, that was like thunderstorm and something outside. Didn't like that at all. So don't be afraid to just get out. You know, if you think it's not going good, you don't want to risk losing pools. I mean, you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons. You know, you don't want to be a pussy about it and just pour it out of every single game just because you see an elite. But you know, if you make the judgment call that you're getting a little close to dying, or some affixes are particularly bad. Again, Vortex for me is, you know, that's my limit. If I see a Vortex, I immediately get out of the game because of what Vortex can do in combination with the other affixes. Vortex itself is harmless, but okay, so now we have Fast. So this is going to be interesting. Fast kind of sucks. Actually, you know what, when you think about it, a lot of affixes suck. So with CC, this would be bad. That Fast Poison Enchanted, if it had some major CC, I would not be sticking around. And I think I'm about done with this run. Oh crap. Oh crap. Alright, well, we might be ending the run right here, because this right here, guys, I'm tanking it. I don't know how I'm tanking it. It must be the lifesteal, but this is actually, that was very poor gameplay on my part. I didn't portal out correctly. And we're actually at the 19.5 minute mark, so we're gonna end this on a good note. So we're at 19.5 minutes, and let's see how much XP we got. So we started at 181, and we ended up at 550. So moment of truth. That gives us 369 million over 19.5 minutes. Oh, that was actually really awful. That's only actually 1.1 billion XP per hour. Okay, so apparently this doesn't always work out how you would like it to. Now, let's see if, because I did pause my timer, so actually let's go back and I'm going to continue the timer, starting right now. And we're going to keep going because this is actually a very, very low number. And it's probably because of the reduced sample size. So I think I'm going to go ahead and run this out to half an hour. Because something about that doesn't quite sit well with me. When I tested this earlier this morning, I was getting 1.4. And you know, it's safe to say that this is going to be over 1 billion per hour. I mean, you got to play pretty sloppy to not have it be over a bill. But you know, the 1.4 to 1.5, which again I think 1.5 is the higher end. You know, you're gonna have to play well. So this will probably be the last COTA run that I do a video on, just because you know I'm kind of hitting the XP wall with this gear level.
Still waiting. I need to go back. What do you miss about it?
And you know, I do want to give you guys a realistic number, so I'm not going to be messing around and looking at stats and things like that, but I'm also not like trying to button mash as quickly as possible, because you know, some of these videos that you see where people are getting like these insane amounts of XP per hour, they're optimizing the runs and then they're significantly extrapolating, and they're, you know, playing with like 100% focus, which no one really does. I mean, you know, unless you're specifically actually going for some sort of record, no one plays like that because it's a game. I mean, this isn't a race. I mean, you're just playing the game. You should enjoy it. So you're not necessarily going to be playing extremely fast. Okay, so this is actually pretty nasty. I'm going to teleport out of here. Normally I wouldn't do that. I would save the teleport. But there's so many of them here that I'm going to go ahead and portal out. It's too much. And there's no CC, fortunately, so I can just kind of keep going in circles, and because I do want to get all these white mobs. This right here, this is actually probably the worst thing that could happen to you, is getting a skeleton on the stairs that you can't walk past, because it gives the elites more time to get to you, and you know, as a result, you could get popped. Alright, so we got another Paragon level, and so if you guys saw that run right there, was pretty good for XP. And if you if you were to record a short video, you know, with 5 or 6 runs, and you lucked out and got really high density runs, yeah, I could see how you could, you know, even with what I got going on, you could break 2 billion per hour if you then just expand it out to an hour. But you can't do that. You know, that's not accurate, because you don't account for all the bad runs, or you know, the runs where you have to pop out of the crypts and see another elite, like some of the runs that are just completely awful. And, you know, this isn't even ROS, so I don't really care to, you know, do hundreds of hours of testing to say that, okay, this is 100% optimized, and this is hands down the most efficient way to get XP. I just want to do some moderate testing and kind of figure out what the XP ceiling is, given a certain spec and class choice and level of gear. Okay, so this is actually really awful, and I can't port out of. I'm surprised I didn't get popped, but what was really bad about that was there's frozen on the ground, and I was walled in. So I'm actually going to get out of here ASAP. Because I kind of lucked out on that one. Because I didn't get frozen for whatever reason. I think I was right on the edge. But again, like I said, with Waller and the teleporter affix, if you stand in it, you can't teleport out of it. I'm going to post about it. I don't know if that's a bug or a feature. Not being able to teleport out of Waller seems like a bug, just because it's a wall. So, I mean, if you can teleport up and down ledges, you should be able to teleport through a much, shorter wall. You should be able to jump over a shorter wall if you can jump up and down a cliff, basically. That's my opinion. So there's a huge computer freeze right there. I've died many a times to hardware malfunctioning, but we're just gonna have to deal with it. One of the reasons I also do, I wanted to get a little bit more toughness is because, things like Jailer, I don't necessarily want to use my cooldown teleport just to. So this is what you gotta be careful of, is getting stuck on the stairs and getting jailed. But anyway, the reason I have a bunch of toughness is I don't want to burn my teleport cooldown unnecessarily, and that's where you have to kind of make a decision. Yeah, so I just dipped down in the red, and I'm not messing with that, so I'm going to get out. And we're at the 26-minute mark. So we'll keep going. We'll go to the half-hour mark, because I don't think these runs were bad. Maybe I'm not playing as quickly as I normally would because I'm also talking, and so my focus level is a little bit lower. But it's hard to say. Either way, even if we don't hit 1.5, I mean, I'm going to put whatever XP we hit in this video. In a way, you guys just have to take my word for it that I have gotten, in a timed half hour, I have gotten 1.5. And in shorter time frames, I've gotten up to 1.7, but honestly, I think that was just not enough of a data set. I just got lucky on a few runs, and I only timed like 5 minutes of it, and it came out to be this huge amount of XP per hour. So, I would, in order to optimize this completely, like figure out like a perfect path and things like that, I would need to do a lot more testing. But I don't think it's really necessary at this point. I mean, ROS is right around the corner. You guys, come on. One thing I do when my computer freezes like that is I usually just pop a potion and just get out. So as I was saying, with ROS right around the corner, no one's going to be doing these. There's going to be, different runs with better densities. Now, from what I've seen of people playing beta, Act 5 has some sick density. So I think, everyone's going to be farming Act 5 for XP. And they're going to be doing longer runs. Whether that is, bounties and rifts, I don't know. It depends on how well Blizzard kind of balances those with just straight XP runs. I feel straight XP runs will probably give you more than rifts or bounties, just because, as an offset, because you're not getting the extra bonuses that you would get from rifts or bounties, but you are getting higher XP. So it's kind of like a trade-off. So I can see that happening. And I'm sure someone will find an XP route that's... So I gotta be real careful here and try to get down the stairs. That's another thing, guys, with this build. When you have a damage skill like Arcane Orb on your left mouse button, you got to kind of be careful about where you click, because if you want to move somewhere, because it's not a melee skill, then you might not actually move. You might just launch the orb at an enemy if you end up with your mouse pointer over the enemy. So you kind of have to very quickly adjust and click on an open area so you can actually move there. And that can get pretty intense. So we're just shy of the 30-minute mark now. And guys, before, when I was doing the calculations, I did pause it just to remind you, so we didn't burn through more time or anything. I paused my stopwatch. So we're just now past the 30-minute mark, and this is going to be the last run. And then we'll do kind of an updated math number. But I think that's good to see. A number at like the 20-minute mark and a number at the 30-minute mark, because you'll see how much of variation you get just based on RNG. Alright, so this is the end of our run, and by the time I get back to town and exit the game, so we're at like the 30:42, so we're just going to go ahead and say that's 30 minutes and 45 seconds. And we got another, we're 209 million XP into this level. So let's see where we were. So 647 minus 181, that gives us 466 plus 209 equals 675 divided by 30.75, it gives us 21.95 per minute. It gives us 1.3 billion XP per hour. So, when I did this math at the 20-minute mark, I was only at 1.1. At the 30-minute mark, I'm at 1.3. So, and you guys can kind of see that that's just based on RNG and what you encounter, what you don't. And I think on average this has potential to be 1.5 with kind of this gear level, but it's hard to say, and I don't want to put you guys through an entire hour of testing, so we're just going to say that this is 1.3. I'm not going to lie, and it is what it is. And just to show you guys, I don't know if I showed you Paragon points, but basically, I put 1% in movement speed to reach the cap, and the rest in int, all for damage. Offense, I do a max crit chance and then work on crit damage. You don't need cooldown reduction or attack speed for this. Attack speed actually is worse because of what I explained earlier. For defense, max all resist first. This gives you the most toughness per point, and then I go with life percentage just because everything has vitality on it. So this ends up giving you more toughness than armor. If you're a barb, this might actually give you more toughness because your primary is strength. And here I go for resource cost reduction and the rest on area damage. Life on hit, I'm not messing with right now. I don't need it because I have a lifesteal weapon and this is completely negligible. But the area damage, however often this procs, I'm sure there's some sort of proc coefficient, but according to Blizzard and Blue Post, this does proc off everything. I just don't know at what rate. But, more damage never hurts. So, there you go, guys. 1.3 billion XP per hour. And next I'm going to test some other areas of the game to see if I can top this number. And maybe the next video I do, I'm going to do an actual a half-hour run from the get-go, maybe even longer, just to get a more accurate number. So thanks for watching, guys. This is Meathead Mikkel from meatheadgaming.com. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.